And then once you both begin, I'll be switching off my video so that we get clean video footage of both of you for the entire session, which you can then share with those who haven't been able to make it for today's talk. So in about a minute,
yeah.
say.
I told you there is another talk by another friend of mine.
Right, yeah.
Friend of mine. So there are few people are gone there, few people they are switching in between.
Juggling 2 Zoom meetings at the same time, or maybe even more.
Yeah, same time. Yeah, there are so many.
Have 2 or 3 cameras and
your
3 or 3 phones. Yeah,
phones. Your phone and your laptop. Yes, everything together.
Just change the shirt in between, or a shawl you change.
Yeah. So shall we begin?
Yes. Right. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So I welcome you all to the 5th session of All That Is Kerala. We've been having this as a small fireside chat, freestyling, chatting and discussing various topics that are relevant today to Kerala and Malayalis all over the world and those living here. Mr. MP Joseph has been the key initiator for this whole series, who dreamt of this idea of having this talk series and basically talking and introducing the work of various thought leaders, discussing the work of various thought leaders and their challenges, their growth stories, and how they've overcome and come to the point where they are today. We've had some very interesting conversations last time with Manu Pillai and many others. This time we're having a chat with Mr. Bose Krishnamachari, who's artist, curator, thought leader in the field of fine arts, and of course co-founder and director of the KMB, or the Kochi Muziris Biennale, which has been a major mega event that everybody looks up to and aspires to in the art world and outside of it. I think it's been such a phenomenon that people have flocked to Kochi from all over the world, and that is something amazing. Many people in the team who work together to put this KMB together, and I think credit goes to everyone in this great team. I would like to say thank you to both of you on behalf of Kerala Museum and on behalf of City Book Leaders, and welcome you both to today's discussion. Over to you, Mr. Joseph.
Thank you so much, Atithi. That was a very nice introduction, but then I must confess that I am not the originator of this idea. It was Mohit who came up with the idea.
Right.
The only credit that comes to me is that I've been the chief chatterbox over the last, I've been chatting away to glory. Thank you so much for introducing me. Welcome, Mr. Bose Krishnamachari, to this 5th episode of All That's Kerala. What we try to do, for your information, is we introduce Kerala. We introduce Kerala to the country and to the world, and needless to add, to Kerala itself. That's what we do. Let me thank Mohit and let me thank Atithi, because Mohit is the originator of this idea. He is the young man in charge of City Book Leaders, and Atithi is the director of the Kerala Museum, Kochi. They need no introduction. And of course, Bose Krishnamachari needs no introduction at all. He, as you all know, is a man of many parts. Or he, as many of you may not know, is a man of many parts. Actually, I believe he aspired to be a doctor and joined a medical college. Thank God he did not, or we would not have had the Cochin Biennale. And then he's been, can you believe it, a dancer. I'll ask you later what sort of a dance you used to dance. And then he's been an actor. He's been acted in a Malayalam movie. And of course, he is a painter. And now he is, of course, the director of the Kochi Muziris Biennale. He was its co-founder. And as a director, you are, Bose Krishnamachari, what do I call it? An art technocrat, an artocrat, if I may try to make up a word. And in that journey, you have won so many awards, the Lalit Kala Academy Award. And then in 1993, I believe, that you were chosen along with Sachin Tendulkar and Shah Rukh Khan as one of the most influential young persons in the country. And I believe it was called the face of 1993. You were the face of the artist face of is a you're the artist face of 1993. That's extremely good. Like 27 years later, let me congratulate you for that. But it's great to be, known along with Sachin Tendulkar and Shah Rukh Khan. And in the art world, I think you are as high as them, maybe much even better than them in the art world. So let me welcome you and thank you for being on the show. Let me start off with my first question. You started up in 1993 and thereafter with this tremendous promise. Do you think you have fulfilled that early promise that you had as a young man? Because I believe you scored the highest marks in the JJ School of Arts till then, which is something, I mean, it's exquisite. I mean, I can't even think about it. So three questions to start off with. First, which movie did you act in? Which form of dancing have you been, are you in? Have you been trained in that? And thirdly, do you think you have fulfilled that early promise you have had as a young man? I know you have, but I wanted to hear it from your own mouth. Bose, all yours.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this conversation with Mr. MP Joseph. And thank you, the Kerala Museum and book leader, city book leader. It's fantastic. Thank you so much. I heard last time, last your conversation with the Manu Pillai, and he's an incredible mind, a prodigy, I would call. Great, when I think about myself, I need to go back to, if I'm talking about 93, there are quite a lot, long way in some way that, I was born in a small village in Kerala. That little village, beautiful village called Mangatukara near Angamali. And I studied in a public school. And then as desire or a dream to be a doctor, I took science as my subject. I was in Sri Shankaracharya College. Interestingly, I believe in destiny as an artist. In my life, destiny played an important role. But this destiny is not blessed by God. It is my passion, my compassion, or my commitment and enthusiasm taken me to be, I touched with some friends, so-called God, or the touch of serendipitous moments. I think those, in that sense, I'm sorry, I'm at home, so there are a lot of loud noise and things like that. So in 1984, I received an award from the, in this, sorry, that going back to this, going back to my college days, Shankaracharya college days, age of 17, I fell for a long time. I was in hospital from age of 17 to around 2021, in and out of hospital. Those period I gone through lots of magical moments, lots of thinking moments, and practicing moments. These period of time, I was in coma as well. So there was many times resurrected. So I am very much familiar about death. I lived, gone through that kind of period. So which also helped me to keep on working, keep on thinking. And that's the time I got into theater, very much interested in theater, Malayalam theater, but it translates the versions of absurd theater, most of the absurd theater, like Samuel Beckett's, Arnetsko, and all those kind of figures in Shankarapilla sir and his play Tavalam. I used to act in those kind of things. To your question, in Malayalam movie, I haven't acted, but I acted in an English movie, which, which was produced by and directed by, don't ask me the name of the movie. Okay, my memory is quite bad. and really don't keep these kind of notes on things like that, which was shot in one of my gallery space in Bombay. I'm not really, like as you, I'm an artist, curator, I've been collecting art, and also started this gallery with a couple of my colleagues, not colleagues, I won't say colleagues, they're in the business field, like Yash Birla and Devanshi Mehta, both were my partner. Devanshi's daughter, an artist, photographer, she said, why don't we put together a gallery? That's how it was originated, the idea. In the center, Bombay's, it's one of the finest building in Mumbai. Around
it's also the biggest, isn't it? 5,000 square feet of.
There are NGMA, but the private gallery, it was the biggest in that sense. 4,500 square feet space with and won awards also. Institutional awards for designing that space. So I had, I was working, I was partner with them for 2.5 years of time. In 2008, 9, 10, that's the time, the Biennale talk we can come back to. So that's a place, the first shot of my film was happened. I was the villain's brother, and brother runs a gallery. That's how I was part of that kind of
And
thing.
what is the form of dancing?
Dance, I studied Bharatanatyam when I was studying I was doing fine arts in a private school in Tripunithura. At the same time, I was in Kalapidam, and there is a teacher's training course kind of stuff.
Bharatanatyam, can you do a bit of dancing for us? Can you show a couple of mudras?
No way, I forgot. It was like my teacher was amazing guru called this. Kalamandalam Kalyani Kutiyamma, and her daughter, Kala teacher, taught me dance, Bharatanatyam, for some time. And I also had passion for music. I went to Kala Bhavan with Ravani master. I studied the flute. So these kind of crazy things, little. But this destiny, when you talk about destiny, in 1984 award from the Academy made my life a difference. Kerala Lyrical Academy's first prize, one of the first prize. And one of my friend in Mumbai, he sent the prospectus. He's from my village, but lives in, he used to live in Bombay, and sent prospectus from JJ School of Art. That changed my life. Then 85, I visited Bombay. Those days, Jayanti Janata, the train, 2 days journey, and living in a chawl in Andheri in Mumbai. That is also another great experience, like in this chawl, what kind of life. I have a lot of migrant Malayali friends and my cousin brother, 8 to 10 people in a small room, and it's public toilet. It's some kind of life. And 85, I didn't get admission in JJ because they said at the entrance examination, they said, you already an artist, you don't need to be here, you're an academy winner. Those kind of nonsense in a way that I feel that it was a kind of excuse, because Bombay was going through that period of regionalizing politics. So Bombay becoming Mumbai is after a few years of that period. So I arrived in Bombay, now it is Mumbai. But these kind of things are all being, it was also a kind of learning point, understanding the regional politics and things like that. 86, I joined in JJ, and JJ is also known for its abstract school of practices. If you talk about the art world in India, Baroda has a kind of school of thinking which is more politically expressionistic way. Most of the artists were studying in those period of time, and expressionism was one of the major stuff in those periods. And Kolkata, Shantiniketan, if we talk about it, it was also regional in some ways that Shantiniketan conceptualized by Rabindranath Tagore, and this. So it's a great location and great place. Even JJ School of Art is an amazing place.
You spend a lot of time in the canteen in JJ School, I believe.
Yeah, that's true. It's interesting.
That's so.
I really believe that, you know, a canteen or a cafe or a bar or a club is a great place for conversation. You know, in the 19th century,
And have a
beginning of
coffee.
19th century, in French art or international art coming from France, most of the creative people, creative writers, creative performers, poets, all of them used to get together in clubs and they used to read poetry. In my case, in JJ School of Art, fortunately, the next door, I had architecture students and applied art students or commercial artists, art students, and then printing technology and fine arts. And it's also interesting to see that Kipling was born there, great writer. Kipling's bungalow, it's there. So architecture is also interesting. So the central part, I used to hang around. You know, I used to finish whatever my teacher used to say. Make kanda potato. I'll make immediately. And I was fortunate that I made skill. I'm a skilled artist. Maybe it comes from my father. It comes from my forefathers. You know, I was born in a family of carpenters, or presently, if I say I won't call them carpenters, I call them creative designers or something like that. You know. I remember my father designed.
Jesus Christ was also born in a family of carpenters.
Yeah.
Christ was also born in a family of carpenters.
I remember,
so you are in very holy company.
I don't know about Christ, but I know about people.
You said you believe in destiny, but you don't believe in God. That's a contradiction, isn't it?
You know, I used to be an atheist, but I don't follow atheism. I don't, get into make things more and more talking about rationalizing. But I give, if you believe in God, that's fine, but that's your business. But don't come with the idea of, obsession of God and goddesses. I really observed in the international and national scene, global issues are all started from name of God and name of religion, name of caste, which is, every day to day life, you can see it. So I don't really, that obsession is not there. There is a liking, there is a loving space I have given to them. That kind of thing is there. Yeah. I don't know whether
there are images of God in some of your paintings, isn't
your first questions. Yeah. Sorry.
No, you have. Let me move on. I was just commenting that there are images of gods in some of your paintings, but I'm not sure. But let's move on. You see, Kerala has a history of art and painting. We have such great painters like Raja Ravi Verma, and then of course K.C. Panikkar, and sculptors like Kanyai Kunjaraman, and of course Krishnamachari to all of them.
I missed your last point. I heard about the Kanyai Kunjaraman, and
I was asking, where do you place yourself? Where do you place yourself in relation to all the other great artists and painters of Kerala, Raja Ravi Verma, K.C. Panikkar, Kanyai Kunjaraman, and so on? Where do you place yourself in relation to them?
I don't really care about all those things. I do respect the history. I know why. Like most of the successful people, when I look at from Kerala, they're all moved on. If I was, if they're born in Kerala, like Ravi Verma, and he developed his career in Lonavala, in Mysore and in Baroda and different places in Bombay and things like that. So that moving around is very, very important. And all these three people you mentioned, all of them traveled, like K.C.S. Panikkar, when I look at him as a kind of important figure in contemporary Indian art, he played a very, very important historical part. He created the Choramandal Artist Village, which still an important location for, residencies and things like that. I think understanding craft and, living with the craft, idea of craft and, making money through crafts and creating art. This was a kind of almost like the basic concept to develop a residency was amazing. And he set it up in Chennai, not in Kerala. And some of my friends, like I'm the senior artists, like I remember A. Ramachandran wanted to start a museum in Kerala, but unfortunately he's given up. And another friend of mine is a technocrat from Singapore. He wanted to start a children's museum in Trivandrum. He's also given up that idea. You know, like, I don't know why people doesn't want to stay on. I still believe that, you know, like, Kanai Kunyaraman only created maybe 3 amazing works in Kerala. Rest of them are, unfortunately, doesn't stand in the time of our time. So I think it needs to be, you know, like, there are so many incredible names from Kerala. Is outside and inside. There are so many young people are working in Kerala right now. Yeah, sorry.
Which brings me to a question I've always had. You see, artists in Kerala have traditionally a very poor image. Bearded, smoking cigarettes, BDs, into drugs at times, unwashed, unbathed, dirty. They were always looked upon as hypocrites. But with you and with the Kochi Mysterious Biennale, all that seems to have changed. Today, artists in Kerala are seen as something very completely transformed. How did this transformation take place?
I think there's a kind of romanticized idea about art. When we talk about artists, it's actually developed from the, you know, like, there are some examples like Van Gogh. You know, most of the artists, they think they are Salvador Dali, or they are Van Gogh or someone like that. But for me, I believe that, you know, like, there are great artists, you know, lived and worked in Kerala and moved on to, you know, like, for example, in the history, there is a short-lived movement called Artists Association of, what is it called? I'm sorry that that association is only lived for 2 years of time, but I'll come back to the you know.
That's okay.
Sorry, this is you know, actually a disturbing question, in a way that, you know, I believe that I consciously changed my ways of dressing myself, you know, because I didn't wanted that hypocritical living. And I know I respected people like John Abraham, and even I have acted in one of his play called, he's not directed that, you know, but, you know, Channaikal. It was really a political project, and we were very much in these kind of thinkers and practitioners. But I don't want people to follow such school of you know, dressing up, or, you know, I'm not against people are taking, you know, like, I remember my my aunt, my grandma used to have marijuana or something like that. You know, it's everybody's life. They used to have these kind of things in the early days. You know, everybody used to have tambaku and whatever. But I don't follow these kind of schools of, you know, I don't encourage those kind of things. Yeah, that's their ways of living. But I have developed these kind of extremities, maybe realized from life itself. That Kerala's.
Thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
No, I think you made that point extremely well. You see, I know the world of art very little, but I always see it as an outsider, as a very competitive world where man eats man. Is there a tremendous backbiting and jealousies in the world of art? How far is that my understanding of the world of art true? Is that true? Is there bitching, backbiting?
We should not be worried about all that. You know, who is worried? You know, if you're worried about this, you know, you cannot produce your work, you cannot create your work. I won't say produce. There is a kind of difference in between producing and creating. I think if you're a creator, of course, there are jealousy in this world. That's kind of huge world of power, money, and as well as you know, backbiting and all those kind of things are there. But you should not be really worried about it. You know, I think, you know, you should be sharing your moments with your contemporaries and the contemporary thinkers and practitioners in different fields. So that is what happened in the cafeteria of JJ School of Art. You know, I used to meet with the incredible minds from different fields. And also I used to have that meeting with many artists in Mumbai, filmmakers in Mumbai, theater people in Mumbai, like Sanjana Kapoor and all those people, all friends, like Manikal's period. I used to spend time with, great architects like, Kapil Gupta or Nuru Karim. He was studying there, like Sudarshan Shetty studio, visiting Akbar Padamshi, Lakshman Shrestha, all these eminent artist studios, they were what I liked about Mumbai is that, which I can say about Kerala, there was a kind of really, there's a comparatively, if I look at it, Mumbaikars were really open to um, receive your thinking and time. They always shared their time with me. And they have given me so much of time where I could talk to them and things like that. But in Kerala, I had bad experiences when I wanted to meet a senior artist, very eminent artist. And usually you give, handshake if you see somebody, or namaste. I was showing my hands to this reputed artist, and he didn't, it was a kind of, that moment I felt um, that, he cannot be a good artist. He cannot be a good human being. I believe that, if you are a good human being, you can do, you have to be first, you have to be a good human being to be an artist. That's what I believe. Um, these are the
Very
kind
true,
of
Bose. Having
experiences
said that, I
I
must
have.
also add, very true, Bose. Having asked that question, I must also
That
add
ego,
that this sort of a
like you have to
jealousies
drop
are there
your
in every
ego.
profession.
Yeah, you have to drop your ego.
Every profession has this.
Yeah. Sir, I can't see you. I can see you only, Mr. MP Joseph. I would like to see your face and talk.
Okay, fine. Because I'm going to, there is a question. There's a question coming in from Francis George. And he says, the question is this: nudity is acceptable in Western art. Learning to draw the intricacies of the human body is a special category of art. How far has nudity been accepted amongst Indians as a form of art? I mean, is there a clear distinction between art and eroticism in Indian minds when it comes to nudity? That's his question.
It's a large subject, sir. It's a very large subject,
Okay.
when we look at it, like if we look at great architecture, temple architecture, Konark, and all those places. When you look at it, it's really it's crazy ways of gestures in sculpting. Which that kind of nudity is not painted by any artist or an Indian artist, but you can see a lot of miniature works also there. There are 19th century, 18th century miniature paintings. If you look at it. Uh, 17th century works, there are a lot of nudity, and that is also gods and goddesses were that kind of thing, like unfortunately look at the case of Mr. Ahmed Hussain. I met him before he passed away. I met him in Dubai. He spent his time at his studio with other colleagues, artist friends. We visited his home in Dubai. And my colleague, my friend was, his son was one of my friend who was studying in JJ School of Art, 1 year senior to me, always Hussein, and all those people. I feel terrible that he was misunderstood, and he was almost like a thrown out of India and died other part of the world, which is, it's a shame that a man who made Indian art internationally recognizable and things like that. And if I look at artists like, if uh, painting nudes, we have studies at college, like we need to look at a living model, a nude model, and study. So there is a lot of difference, it's a kind of really subjective, it's a kind of pathetic mind. Some people have it, so they see it in such a way that nudity is wrong and things like that. I don't think, as an artist, I don't think it's if it depends on the context, why we are making nudity, or why an artist choose to use that kind of media. So I think, as educated
I'm going to
public.
ask you a very fundamental question.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Sorry. Can I ask you a very fundamental question? I'm not an artist, and therefore this question comes: what is art? What is art?
It's a big
I'm a
question.
bureaucrat,
It's a big,
I work for the
yeah,
academy.
yeah. No, I
What
would
is
like
art?
all our bureaucrats should study what is culture. Education. It is when I say education equal to art, art equal to freedom. Freedom, it can go, it can come in a circle. I wish all our bureaucrats learn some part of, it is one of the wealthiest thing in a way when I look at it. We have incredible architecture. We have incredible heritage. We have the same way we have really, really amazing art in India. But no culture policy, national cultural policy, or state culture policy really put. Kerala is an exception. I'm sorry to say that Kerala is an exception. Kerala is invested much more than any other state in India. For example, the Biennale case. Also this 14 location, 14 districts of Kerala. Kerala, culture ministry is investing, culture department is investing 50 crore each to build cultural centers. None of the Indian other states are not tried to do this. Or individuals, of course, created those kind of stuff. Like there are amazing people. Individuals created. Individuals also trying to create museums in different part of India. But state invested. Dr. Thomas Isaac is really a bright visionary mind who put the first initial funding for Kochi Moses Biennale. That money also as important aspect that we don't have any kind of weather controlled space, climate controlled space to exhibit our artwork. Artists always, as you said, that romanticized idea about, they don't care about where is their painting, when they have painted. I think, that respect only come after you have a great place to show your artwork. We had the first space, I think, we have created at Lalit Kala Academies. With the help of Lalit Kala Academy, we have created that place. And it is one of the finest gallery spaces in India. Still, it is one of the finest.
Mr. Bose Krishnamachari, there are a couple of questions coming in, so that's why I'm interrupting you. One is the question. I mean, I was coming to Kochi Biennale later, but Somu Desai has already asked the question. Did your studio practice suffer by becoming the founder of the Kerala Museums Biennale? And there's a question by Gopakumar, which I'll come to later. But can you answer this question from Somu? Did your finances suffer?
Very much. Sir, I used to pay one of the highest taxpayer in Borivali. So when you say in Borivali, in Bombay, of course there are corrupt people. I am not.
Can I ask you how much?
Corrupt mafias and things like that, or real estate people. I used to pay the maximum. One of the percent in this region.
How much?
And
how much is the maximum you paid?
Maybe 3. Those.
You don't want to say.
No, that I don't want to say. But okay. As an artist, and I have a huge gallery. I mean, studio space in Bombay. It's not easy to afford to buy it. I have properties in Kerala. This is all my vision to create art centers or or residency centers. I wanted to make something like that. That's why I bought the best places in Kerala as well. It's not that. It suffered a lot, and it is not only mine. My colleague Riaz Komu. Given we sold our properties. I bought 2 trucks to make one of the project called Lava Laboratory Visual Art, which is a collection of all my books from different part of the world, and 1,800 DVDs. It is an educational project. I bought 2 trucks, and which I had to sell it for Biennale to happen. Like in the first edition of the Biennale, the second edition, all this is myself and my colleagues, and I remember Hermes Harrigan, one of the trustee, he put 10 lakhs. He kept that money for building his home. So this kind of dedication, there were incredible support come from small, like young people, they used to come up with the 5,000 bucks or 25,000 bucks to create. So Somu Desai's question that, like really relevant. I think, like who is investing the money, and I think Kerala state is initiated. But when we look for, I wanted to say you, sir, this, when we go for this money to get it from the state government, or it takes, I told the previous Chief Minister of Kerala, Sri Uman Chandi, who inaugurated the first edition of the Biennale. I told him that if I tell you that like so much humiliation, I used to face it, like begging, almost like a beggar in front of this, I'm not saying everybody is important, and when I look at people's work at the Secretariat, I told Chief Minister that if I draw that line from where I moved from one location to the another in the Secretariat, I must have, for 4 crore, I must have traveled the 40,000 kilometer or 4,000 kilometer in that area itself. Like I know each and every area of that Secretariat. And people used to say that this guy is that Biennale guy is going in Malayalam, Biennale ponu, that kind of stuff. So it's kind of, and there is so much of.
Can I interrupt you there for two quick points, Mr.
I wanted to say this. Is like like out of 400 people I must have met in the bureaucratic thing, maybe like one person can really, I want to use this word, screw up your life, screw up your time. They don't respect the time, unfortunately. Today's things needed to be happen, like they wait for, like I had to come back, I had to make calls. Of course we are access to all the top people, but that also doesn't work. So I think these are the things. Respect cannot be bought. It can be imbibed, or it can be. It's almost like truth, sir. You cannot. And also this word called sir. I learned it from that Secretariat.
Don't sir me. I'm Joseph. I'm just Joseph. Call me MP. That's better. Why are you serving me?
Yeah. So
okay, very quickly, I just wanted to tell you two things. It's Mr. Hermes Harrigan who will be on this chat show the next time, episode number 6. So you just spoke about him having given 10 lakh rupees, contributed to it. So he's coming on my show a couple of weeks from now on the 17th of October, Saturday. But it's a revelation even to me. I didn't know that he had contributed 10 lakhs to the show, to the Biennale. A great man. He was, of course, chief of RAW, Research and Analysis Wing of the government, the Director General of that. He was also the Director General of Police here.
And he's
going to speak on culture, living in the edge.
Yeah. He was in Rome.
So I thought I'll tell you that, and also I'll add one more point. I remember that for, I think, the 2014 Biennale, when you had, when I'd come to know you, or was it, yeah. And then I remember that I had put one of my men in the Secretariat to follow up the release of the funds and the budget for the Cochin Biennale. And he spent 1 month there, going from desk to desk to desk. So what you say is very true. I know that for 1 month, one of my men was in the Secretariat, going from desk to desk. I didn't go myself like you did, but he did, and he spent 1 month and to trying to get about 1 or 2 crores.
Generous mind, we should make a endowment. I don't feel like going back. There are so many things. I feel that we have been wasting so much of time. Respect time is also important, sir. But Kerala has one of the greatest project called Biennale, so we can be proud of that. Whatever that struggle, and my other colleagues are also, we haven't paid salaries for some time. So those people's commitment, they believe in this project, but still we cannot, they also have family, and so these things, they unfortunately that some parts they don't understand. They don't. I think needed to be questioned, and
very true, boss. You see, I've met you millions of times, and every time I see you with those huge glasses. It's often round, but today it's not a round glass. The glasses are huge, and most often they are so colorful. Bright red, bright green. Is it to see the world in its colors better that you're doing this? And also, along with that, when I look at your paintings, my eyes shimmer. They are mostly psychedelic colors. Do
Yeah.
you see the world in psychedelic colors? I'm not an artist, so I see the world in black and white or occasionally a few colors. But
It
you
can
must
be.
be seeing it in psychedelic.
It can be very philosophical in a way. I believe that, like extremities coexist in my life. Polarities, ambivalence. It's a kind of almost like a juxtaposition of that. Like I was born in that beautiful village and came to Mumbai, this metropolitan place. It's almost like many universities in one place itself. That's the kind of Mumbai I given me life. But the strength comes from Kerala. I also, when going back to your, chashma or the glasses, I believe in design. I believe in everything has, everything got aesthetics. We need to find what are the aesthetics. I buy these kind of stuff because, I think everything is art. I believe everything is art. So this is all collected from some of the museum shops, designed by architects or designed by fashion designers or painters or sculptors. The same way, like any costumes, at home also, I would say that, when I talk to students, all these kind of places, I say that, even if you're shaping up your beard, it's also a kind of designing yourself. Or a friend of mine, if they shape up her eyebrow, it's also a certain kind of design and or aesthetically they are trying to develop themselves. So I think it's all part of it, sir. I don't really spend too much of time to buy something also.
Oh, no, sir,
Even
please do this.
but I keep on looking at good furniture, good lights. For example, this behind me, it's Artemide. It's one of the finest lighting company, produce very minimalistic bright. So there is extremity coexist in my life, very colorful, maximum color, maximum texture, maximum lines, all those kind of things. But at the same time, I have produced works almost extremely minimal. The braille with the braille, it's a very minimalistic work. So that is there, sir. So it coexists in my life in Mumbai.
Bose,
And when I come back from
there
the
are many questions coming in, so I'm going to take a couple of them.
yeah.
There are many questions coming in, so I'm going to take a couple of them, Bose. One is Aditya Satish. Would you discuss your version of history? Would you discuss your version of the history of conceptual art in India? What direction is it heading today? And then there's Unikrishna Menon Damodaran. What is your take on artists contextually defining their body of work that struggles to make sense to the viewers and lovers of art? How do you go about doing it? Two abstract questions. And then there's one from S. Gopakumar.
Sir,
When you sell a piece of
one
painting,
by one, I would like to go one by one. Maybe you
okay,
can,
one by one. The first one is about contextual art.
Conceptual art,
Con
right?
Yeah.
Conceptual,
And what direction is it
concept,
taking in the future?
The idea is an important aspect when we create art. Like a conceptual art originated in America in the 60s and 70s. After it's an art context. But conceptual art is everywhere in like most of the artists practice conceptual based projects. Projects and collective. Artists nowadays works not only individually, they as kind of collective, they produce artwork. It's almost like an architect, uh, so it's the idea become important, idea is important. But historically, when I go back to this conceptual, it is originated from something else, like Marshal Duchamp in 1917. That's the time he put a urinal in an exhibition space. First time it was rejected, but then that urinal become a kind of found object, or that become, it was a statement. It is the most written out piece in the international art history. So that conceptual art originated with the idea is important. So
did people go and piss there?
Yeah, it is also multiple collections in museums. Like even in 1968, the replica of it is bought by, I think, 68 or something by the Tate Modern. So those kind of things. So So that historically there are a lot of studies we have to do when we talk about art. So that from minimalism to that void period, idea become important. Idea, then that conceptual art. It is very important in contemporary time. That will go on. It is not going to die. Yeah. So, and the second.
Since we are getting short of time, let me go to the, to the Kochi Mysterious Biennale. You have been able to include the common man in Kochi and Kerala into art, which never happens. Art was always considered something very elitist. People didn't. It was it was too expensive. People didn't understand art, but you brought it to the common man. So, how do you plan to include more and more people in art, and ultimately, how do you plan to include everybody in art? Is that a possibility?
I think it is possible, but we have to start from the scratch. Almost like the educational system needs to be changed. Every institution should be like one of the artists, Robert Smith. Robert Martha said, every school should be art schools. I think every place should be liberal. The liberal education in some ways. That and I coming back to this how we have developed that being erasing the fact of that walls of the elitist space was an important aspect. People were not at all aware of Biennale, the word itself, so there were a lot of exercises we have learned it from other Biennales, and then we have produced what is a good Biennale and why we are doing it, which ones are the best ones. These are the kind of small things we have put it together and made a brochure, given it to a lot of our auto rickshaw friends and homestays, restaurants, and all kinds of institutions, schools. We went around, our friends, young artists used to went around and give a slide presentation about art and things like that. It was not slowly, it was naturally, developed. Kochi was already a kind of site of acceptance, site of, it's an ideal place when we look at the secularism. It is sociologically one of the greatest place, like the first, when we look at Kerala, I think, even only this area is only 4.5 square kilometer. And there we have 44 different kind of communities and 16 different kind of languages people speak. And I can speak to Marathi in somewhere, and Gujarati food, I can have it in one of the, one of the lanes, and all those kind of things. That this is already prepared land. You need to put that soil is already prepared. So you need to bring ideas to there. It's one sapling can grow faster than that kind of soil we have it with culture. It's always accepted. Whether you take religion or first synagogue, first church, first, all this is happening in Musiris area. Like the mosque, all those, and the temple, it's all coexist in this small 4.5 square kilometer area. And Musiris, you find the mosque, and like, so those kind of secular, the ideal place for that Musiris was actually, it's for me, it's almost like mother, and Kochi is like daughter or something like that. So that's kind of umbilical relationship. We can say that this is an ideal place for a great biennial. So naturally, people, that participation is, that enthusiasm of a Kerala, the local public is really given the strength, and the local public's pride given Kochi Musiris Biennale internationally. When we talk in different destinations, this is the aspect that they are surprised by. How come so many local public is part of this amazing project? I mean, like that kind of thing. Everybody is questioning that, how do you get this kind of crowd to this place? So there is kind of lighter, we haven't created that place as a kind of corporate, or in a corporate to a white Cuban space. When we talk about art, where are we showing white Cuban space? We say white Cuban space, but we erased that spaces into kind of the public space to access to the private access to the public. That kind of location we have created through the help of the local public. That's why we could create such a project.
Thank you. I mean, I love the way you expressed it. The artist came out in you when you said that Mercedes is the mother and Kochi is the daughter, and the umbilical cord relationships. I mean, you're not only an artist, you should be a writer too, I think, Bose. There was a question on this same point by B.R. Ajit. He said that, well, you have broken those barriers. It's no longer a white cube space. It's everywhere. It's space all over. Art has occupied every corner. But your locations of the Kochi, Busidis, Biennale are limited to Fort Kochi and Matangeri. Why are you not taking it outside that frame? Why don't you take it to other parts of Ernakulam district, to Kodungalur and other places? That's a question. If you can answer that.
Sir, it is possible to do different kind of festivals.
I'm going to fine you every time you call me sir.
Sorry. Maybe you should make it like that, you know. This made me, you know, I become almost like that. As I mentioned to you, you know, it's all got it from, you know, my work needed to be, you know, Biennale's work. I need to be bending down my head. You know, those kind of things I needed to do. Yeah. So anyway, it is possible, any location it's possible, but you have to prepare that ground. As I, you know, so there are, you know, I can do a project in Kolkata, I can do a project in Trivandrum or in Calicut, not at all. And there are amazing locations as well. But that participation, it doesn't have to be a Biennale, but it can be other festivals. You know, you can have music festival, you can have creative festival. Nowadays, it is not, you know, Kochi Biennale is the difference in between Kochi Biennale and the other biennales. Kochi Biennale runs, the Biennale Foundation runs year-long program. We have it. We have Let's Talk, we have film program, we have Students Biennale, we have ABC, another amazing program with the ABC program. You should check it out. Many opportunities are there, you know. So, and then curated film screenings, you know, everything is curated. This is very important aspect, sir. Kerala got incredible talent, India got incredible talent, but we have, you know, unprofessional staff and places. You know, we don't have great museums, we don't have great, you know, unfortunately, we don't have many curators. We have so many bureaucrats. But I think it is important to know what is art, what is culture can do to the society. Society is actually, it is political if you're making a statement, and Kerala made that statement, you know, making that land great through culture. You know, it is there are many greater possibilities if you invest much more in culture. And there are studies done by organizations, you know, McKinsey and KPMG, and, you know, urban studies are done by people, and say that what are the kind of things culture can bring to a society, what culture can bring. That is actually, culture is education, education is art, art is freedom. So freedom, wherever there is freedom, we can have celebratory life. That's
very, I mean, lovely. I think you should start writing. Culture is education, education is freedom. I think those are quotable quotes. You and Riaz Como organized the first 4 Biennales. You are co-founder along with Como. Now, Riaz Como. Now, where do you think the Biennale is going? The next Biennale is scheduled to be held on the 12th of December 2020, the 5th edition. Is it going to take place? Is it going to be a physical Biennale? Is it going to be an online one?
Question, sir.
Virtual art?
Yeah, it's an important question. We are also asking ourselves, asking ourselves whether it is possible. You know, fortunately, our curator Shubhigi Rao could travel around the world before the pandemic originated. And also, I wanted to go back in 2018, when this Nipah virus happened. You know, like people were canceling their tickets and things like that. And again, that flood in 2018. We could do it. We could do an amazing project with that difficult period as well, with the help of the people. There are a lot of artists really hugely supportive towards the Biennale. They have given us artworks and also our gallery friends from all around India. So there is kind of huge support come from not only from the state, but from other part of India and other part of the cultural world from around the world, like Goethe Institute, Royal Baccia to USIS to many organizations, like um, the embassies, cultural institutions, all of them are helping their artists to come here. And, so that association building we have done um, really, I think we developed a kind of huge relationship and exchange program. Some of our artists are going to, for example, young artists from Kerala and other parts we are sending them to Australia. Some of the artists, we want to send them to France for educational exchange program with the Montpellier University. And there are a lot of students also coming to study Kochi Mrs. Biennale, architecture students. I've been meeting all kinds of students, so it's a kind of place for learning, site for learning. Kochi become almost like a kind of site for, learning. So yeah, there are many other. And this Biennale, I would say that in 2020 Biennale will make us a call in end of this month or something like that. We are looking at the situation. Is it possible to bring artworks from internationally, and how much time we have it? All those things we are discussing, but we'll make a statement by very soon, with the board's decision. And
Thank you. A question I've always wanted to ask, Bose. Is it pronounced Biennale or Biennale?
Biennale is an Italian
I've never been sure.
It was
Rias Como pronounces it as Biennale.
Biennale is an English word. 1895, the first edition of first Biennale opened in Venice, 120 years ago. It was started as a kind of commercial thing. Then it became cutting edge exercises of contemporary art, cutting edge practices of contemporary art, later period. And Havana, there are 320 Biennales around the world. Our Biennale is like one of the youngest Biennale. It's also interesting to see with the small amount, compare it to it is almost all the Biennales are the spending, the city spend the money. And here our case, Chief Minister, Mr. Bernardi Vijayan believes in this project, each and every, and we also work with each and every government, like Professor K.V. Thomas, Mr. M.A. Baby, when he visited Mumbai, that's the first time we started talking about the Biennale. So that's originated in Mumbai. We planned it in Kochi because it's come from there. And there are many other people also wanted to start similar kind of, inspired from Kochi Mrs. Biennale. Also, they have done projects in Goa and other places. So some of them failed to sustain. So I think it is important to have some kind of endowment to make it happen. So we are also raising funds through, sir. We are also raising funds. I'll put the fine into my raising funds place. That, Kochi Mrs. Biennale.
Yes, absolutely.
Givindia.org. Givindia.org. We can contribute 250 rupees onwards, any kind of amount. And also you get 80.
I hope people are listening, please.
Yeah. Kochi Mrs. Biennale.
I hope everyone is listening.
Givindia.org. We are in debt of almost 3.9 CR. Salaries needed to be given. Some of the vendors we had to pay the money. So help, yeah. So but still we going on with the
absolutely
ourselves. I remember Baby Sir said once that even if we sell our property, we'll make it happen. That is what happened. Like people were always, I could call him, or people like him, always, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. We used to live in some places, wherever we traveled, small, homestays and things like that when we traveled. And work because we believe in this project, but don't take it for granted forever. That's what I want to say.
Thank you. Very true. And I think there should be a form of crowdfunding of the Kochi Biennale.
Yeah, that's a crowdfunding.
People are listening.
Yeah. There are other formats.
And correct me if I'm wrong, the word Biennale means once in 2 years, isn't it?
Right.
Biennale means once in 2 years.
Right.
Yeah, thank you. In a way, Bose, you brought the world of art to Kochi and Kerala. You and Riaz Como. I'm adding him because they are co-founders, and
Yeah.
I think he's been with you for the first 4 Biennales, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Yeah, and you brought the world of art to Kochi and Kerala to people like me who knew nothing about art and thought art was sort of, not art was for a niche crowd, for a niche, not in a positive sense, but in a niche in a negative way, niche crowd. So you made it familiar to all of us. A man in the street in Cochin knows as much about Biennale as I and you do. They know much more about art. I know much more about art because I visited all your 4 Biennales. So what next? What are you planning next beyond the Biennale?
Sir, as an artist and curator, I'm working on a project about Mumbaikars. The same way I'm working on a project of Keralites. I've done 15 years ago a project called Double Enders for 69 Malayali artists. That's the first traveling show. Many people realize there are incredible potential artists coming from Kerala. Like people didn't know Jiddish Kalat was a Malayali artist, or Justin Ponmani was a Malayali artist, or Ashok Sumaran's, his father or mother was a Japanese, but there was a kind of artist from Rhode Island School, Anu Palan, Kunat Matthew, V. Vishwanathan and Arkitam from Paris, then Ajivian from Rotterdam, Shibu Nadeshan from London. So we had 69 artists. It was, I'm not saying it was the greatest curated project, but I think it had given so much of life to Malayali Keralite artists. The same way, I have done a project called Bombay by 17 artists from Mumbai showed their work in Mumbai, as well as it was traveled to Kochi. I'm working on a large project in Mumbai for Mumbai artists. I live and work in between these 2 cities, Kochi and in Mumbai. So I owe so much to all over the world. I mean, like I have, I have got things from, my roots are from Kerala, but Mumbai is given me all that kind of power of learning, or it's almost like a kind of, it's really received me as I am. Like Kochi received people from all around the world, the same way Mumbai received me as I am, and given me so much of wealth, so much of happiness, and I have a wonderful family. It's all in Mumbai.
Bose, I would only say that Mumbai's gain should not be Kochi's loss. It should be a gain win-win situation. Speaking of your family, you just told me that I've seen you. You just mentioned before we started that you have fights with your wife.
Oh, my wife, because of it's not an easy world when it comes to giving time. Like I was last 10 years, I was in and out of Mumbai, and that affected my career. After 10 years, 9 years, I have done a solo show in Kolkata at Imami Gallery. That was show after a long time. The mirror sees best in the dark. Also, I've done that Biennale. I've done a curated project in China in 2016. It is also originated, inspired from Kochi Biennale. That Biennale originated in Yinchuan in China. Imagine that I was giving a talk at SIMAM. SIMAM is Contemporary International Museum Directors Committee. And they invited me to speak about Kochi. And the 15 minutes talk, after that, one lady came from China, asked me, will you curate a show in China? And I thought it's a curated show for a MOCA, Museum of Contemporary Art. But when I visited them, they said, we would like you to do a biennial like Kochi. So it is kind of that participation of Kochi's people that is surprises everyone. That is the greatness about all kinds of kids. You know, I remember many anecdotes. I can go on talking. A father or family of 3 or 4 standing, standing and reading out loudly. Father reading out about the text about the artwork, and maybe a 6 or 8-year-old kid is listening to that kind of thing. This is really amazing. That won't happen everywhere else. So it happens in our country. So that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. This comment comes to my head, so I've got to say it. Thank you, Bose, for teaching China. I'm sorry, or China seems to be learning from Kochi, so that's very good to know. China hosting a Biennale. But I've got about a dozen of interesting questions. I've got a dozen of interesting questions, and I feel very unhappy that I'm unable to ask them. But there's a very interesting question from Gopakumar, which I think I must ask you, even though we are running short of time. This question is, when you sell a piece of art, don't you feel a terrible loss, like you're feeling as though you're selling your child or something? You've created it and you're selling it. Do you feel a tremendous loss when you? It's Gopakumar's question.
Sir, I don't feel at all. There are people like that. I'm not saying that no. I don't feel at all, because I know it is art. I know that it's an important statement by Picasso. And he says that if you know what you're going to make, then there is no point in making it. If you know what you're going to paint, and then there is no point in painting. The same way, for me, I don't want to know about tomorrow, but I know I really like to live this moment of time. I create, and that is always happening. That transformation is always happening. Art is never going to die. Or photography, when photography originated, people said painting is dead. But it's always inventions take you from one place to the another. So the new technology and science is going to embrace art. And in my life, I'm not going to be worried my painting is sold. I'll be very happy that somebody is happy with my art. That is why I do many kind of work. One way of work is that the colorful work, what you're seeing behind me, that is called the stretched body series. But I have done a lot of video projects called Ghost Transmemoir. It's collected by one of the finest collectors in the world, called the Dimitri Daskalopoulos in Greece. So there are it's a 40 feet long installation. So there are many different kinds of work. I also have done it. So I think keep working is important. Involved in whatever you're doing. Coming back to I'm really dedicated. My wife and kids. You ask me. I fight with my wife, of course. Like in this chat also, she said that you start in the morning and end by 11 o'clock. What is it? So even this 6 months, I have this kind of writing or talking, or I've been writing. I used to write a column. 3 years I've written. It's called "Everyone is a Camera," and that was my travel. And so it's kind of I keep on writing, or I keep on talking to young artists and architects and designers, because I'm very much interested. Art is not separated from one practice to the another. A theater person needs to know about music. Theater person needs to know about art, music, poetry. The same way a filmmaker needs to know, or a painter needs to know. So help me that the dance help me.
Since we are running short of time.
Yeah. Thank you.
Since we are running short of time, I will. No, I just a few points. One more last question. But before that, some comments come to the tip of my tongue. I've got to say it. The first is, from what you say, no man seems to be a prophet in his own home. Your wife doesn't think. I mean, we all consider you a great, great artist, but your wife doesn't seem to think so. Are your children artists? I'll ask that. And very quickly, so from what you said, it appears as though COVID is for you an opportunity to look at. You said camera came in and art changed. So in a sense, COVID would be an opportunity for you. A very quick and short answer to that, and then I'll go to my last question, which is about the young people.
COVID, actually, it was a time
Are you,
for, remunerating, I mean, it's almost like I gone back to, in the beginning, I thought it is going to be for 2 weeks or 1 month, so we used to play, chess with my son and cards with my family late evening. And then, sometimes we go through, my travel photograph or marriage photographs or something or the other. But I think, it is to your question, there are a lot of inventions, how you can rethink of this time. It's the physical, keeping physical distance and social together, and how you can build that. And, we've been working with the digital world from 2012 onwards. In fact, the first digital temporary project was relayed by Google Art and Culture on Kochi Biennale in 2012. It was a post production of that. It is stitched it together, and they have relayed from, so you can check it out. 2012, 2014, you can see that digital walkthrough, 360-degree walkthrough of that. In so it's kind of, we've been working with the digital world and video art. When we talk about video art, it is a digital practice. So I think it's kind of extension of what we have learned. So nothing is, I think, we adopt things, and there are augmented reality, 3D animation. It's all very much connected to architecture reading. It is very much connected to design prospects and applications, technology. These things should come together. I think, that's, so it is good that, it is happening, and, we have more conversations, more ideas, coming in this period of time. Yeah.
thank you. So I'll go to my last question, which is also a question one of my viewers asked. I don't have the screen in front of me, so I'm not able to say who actually asked that. But the question is, you must be an inspiration to a lot of young people. What do you have to say to young people, young artists, young painters? Not only painters and artists, but the young. I mean, you have your journey from Angamali, and today you are at home in the world. It's a tremendous journey in art, of course, but also in life. So what do you have to say to young people?
I think it is most important thing is, if you're born in Mumbai. I used to tell my other students, friends, that, at least you move away from your, move away to Pune or some other place and study. I think, like what is you can't hear me?
Now I can, yes, thank you.
Yeah. So I think, like wherever you're born, I think, keep little distance. If you really wanted to see some object or something beautiful, even for example, my palm, if I want to see, I have to keep little distance and I can see my palm. I cannot see my palm like this, right? So I think keep distance, whatever you love. And, I think it is very much important that if you are a painter, try to learn about other art forms as well. Accept as it is, see, walk, listen, travel as much as possible. Listen to people, give them, and you make cafeterias, you make bars, have conversations there. Conversations can give you a lot of, friends can give you some kind of tips. So sometimes the ideas originate like a kind of spark, So there is no planned thing. Please don't do too many plannings. Tomorrow, if you can't give surprises, there is no point in living. A great actor is always gives surprise in their every performance. A filmmaker is also like that. Every film is different. If they can make it, people say it is a surprise, magic to see those kind of films. So the same way, art making need passion, commitment, and enthusiasm. Enthusiasm, passion, commitment. All these three can, circle it or square it or something like that. But I think these points are important. I believe that commitment, history, respect time, and truth cannot be taught. It's like that, the art cannot be taught. aesthetic cannot be taught, but it could be imbibed. It can be imbibed if you are open to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bose Krishnamachari. As you said, I'm going to respect time. I think people have been listening to us for a long time, and very important, you said conversations are a process of learning, or words to that effect. And to me, this conversation that I've had with you has been a process of learning. I've learned so much in this 1 hour, 5 minutes, 1 hour, 10 minutes that we've been together. Frankly, I mean, my knowledge of art, my knowledge about you as a person, about various things have really gone up in these 1 hour that I had a conversation with you. So your statement that conversation is a process of learning is so very true. Thank you so much, Mr. Bose Krishnamachari, artist, curator, co-founder, and director of the Kochi Museum's Biennale. Before I close, I must apologize to many of the viewers. I've got more than 15, 20 questions. I've not been able to pick everything up because I would be able to pick only a few. My apologies to those whose questions I've not been able to pick up. Thank you for sending in those questions. Apologies again that I've not been able to ask them to Bose Krishnamachari. Thanks so much once again. It's been a tremendous learning process. You have traveled as a Malayali a very long way, and we are all proud of you. The Kochi is proud of you, Kerala is proud of you, India is proud of you. I think the world is proud of you. Thank you so much. And before I hand over the mic to the platform to Mohit Gupta, let me just point out that again that the next episode of All That's Kerala, a chat along the backwaters, will be on the 17th of October, Saturday, and it would be with Dr. Hermes Harrigan, who will be our guest. Hermes Harrigan, as most of you will know, as everybody will know, is former Director General of RAW, Research and Analysis Wing, and a former DGP of Kerala. He is the nearest we have to a James Bond, or perhaps the nearest we have to M, for those of you who have seen James Bond movies. But of course, Dr. Harrigan will not be speaking about his days in the RAW, but he would be talking about his life on the edge of the backwaters of Kerala. And that's going to be much more interesting than perhaps life in RAW. So thank you so much once again to the audience, the listeners, to Bose Krishnamachari, particularly to Atiti and to Mohit. Mohit, the mic is all yours.
I think arts is not my subject. It's just that because I met you, Mr. Joseph, for the city festivals that we do. And that's what I was telling Mr. Bose. Bringing artists together as a knowledge platform, that's our job. And at City Book Leaders, as our second venture, what we do is we bring thinkers together. So it's truly a pleasure to collaborate with the Kerala Museum, to host someone like Mr. Bose with so much of in-depth perspectives of life. And I really love the palm example of yours. I've been doing photography for some time, and I can imagine what is a broad angle rather than a zoom angle, or a zoom lens, because most of the times people tend to buy a zoom lens rather than a broad lens. It always gives you a bigger perspective. Thank you very much for your perspectives. Aditi, in case you have some words to say a thanks to sir. And
I think very important points that you touched upon, Mr. Bose. Cross-fertilization within the arts, liberal arts education, and I think more than anything else, travel and exposure for a person's personal growth. And I think we're all at this point now, especially looking at the education system and everything, about this immersion in your passion and finding your passion. This is so very important. And I think when I was telling you earlier on the phone also that, shining a light on the arts, this is something that very few people have done. Ravi Varma, you, and, very few people have actually done this to the extent and the scale at which you've been able to reach people. Very important for us all to take a moment, think about that, think about how we can make time for the arts in our lives. Something even our founder felt as one of the first patrons of art in Cochin and in Kerala, I think, something that he felt very strongly about. He felt that good citizenship comes from imbibing these values in culture and in art. And that is a very relevant today, even more relevant with so much of material culture being around us, surrounding us all the time. Thank you so much, sir. I'm going to say sir because you are sir for us. Very, very inspiring and very, very wonderful session that we've had with you. Thank you, Mr. MP Joseph and Mohit. I stand corrected. It was your idea.
I wanted to thank all of you and all my friends, and especially my family also, you know, like without them, I am not here. You know.
We'll all thank our families, and thank you all for attending, participants, all of you who've been there, sent in some fantastic questions about life and learning. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today.
Thanks.
Thank you, Atit.